It's urban legend from your state. Today we're talking about Louisiana. While this house may be beautiful, it allegedly has a very dark history. This is Myrtle's Plantation, and it was originally owned by Mr. and Mrs. Clark Woodruff. Mr. Woodruff was a judge in town, and he did own several slaves, which is terrible in itself, but his cruelty seemed to be targeted towards one person specifically. Allegedly, Chloe would work inside the house, and his cruelty fell on her. He was exceptionally, it was almost like he was targeting her specifically. Chloe did try to protect herself from this violence, and she would do this by listening in on conversations between the couple, trying to find ways to ease the violence towards her. But one day she was caught eavesdropping on the couple, and in order to punish her, Mr. Woodruff cut off her ears. Now, in order to hide this mutilation that he had done to this poor girl, he made her wear a green turban around the house so no one would see what he had done. Chloe, still desperate to get on the right side of this family, on the 9th birthday of their daughter, she baked them a cake and poisoned this cake with oleander leaves. Some say it was not her intention to do any harm, just to make the family sick so that she could nurse them back to health, because healers were some of the most respected people in this area. Unfortunately, she put too much oleander leaves into this cake and the family passed away. When Chloe's actions were found out, she was hanged in public and then thrown into the Mississippi River. But that's not the end to the tragedies in this house. The new family that bought the house would die due to tuberculosis, and then the next owner would be shot in his front yard. This place has been changed through several hands. It was even a movie set at one point, and everyone says that this is probably one of the most haunted places in the United States. The reported ghost happening started in the 1970s. Here is a picture that was taken for insurance purposes. This was not supposed to be to capture any paranormal activity. And when they developed it, they saw this woman here, and it kind of looks like she might be wearing something on her head. So people really think that this is the ghost of Chloe. Something else that's strange is this handprint seems to stay on this mirror. This was near where the children apparently died. And this handprint appears on this mirror in this hallway specifically. And no matter, even if they change the mirror, like exchange mirrors, clean it, nothing, that handprint is always there. People also say that you can hear the stomps from men walking up and down the halls. There's ghostly apparitions, like you can see the children in the Woodruff children in the mirrors and stuff like that. But people still debate on whether Chloe ever existed or not. Currently, this is a bed and breakfast and you can stay the night. So would you? Do you think it's haunted? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and follow for more creepy things.
This is the Monroe Demon House, the scariest place in America. This house has an interesting and very bizarre history. A history that includes serial killers and satanic cults. And when we visited, it was during a thunderstorm, so the energy was supercharged. Now, lots of previous owners of the house have gotten into bizarre accidents. Accidents that have taken the lives of some of their loved ones, and they've been plagued with bad luck while they lived in the house. At some point, the home actually became a boarding house. And some of the tenants in the upstairs, which I'm filming right now, were performing rituals in their room. People don't exactly know what rituals were going on, but they have been confirmed by former tenants. And people think that these rituals opened up some sort of a portal that allowed a demonic being to come through. There were also bones found in the basement that were confirmed to be human bones. And people have seen something that looks almost like a deer or an animal prowling the halls. Now let me tell you, this is one of the most intense places I've ever investigated. We had a crucifix that we set up on the wall fly off of the wall twice, all on camera. And the energy inside of this place was some of the darkest I've ever come across. And the spirits in the home told us of bones that might be buried in the backyard. And I later confirmed with the owner that ground penetrating radar had been used and that there are bodies in the back. If you want to see this full video, it's on my YouTube now. The link is in my bio.
This is why you should never play with a Ouija board. Before I begin, check out my other socials here and make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm always posting story times there. Just posted a new one. Also, thank you so much, Marissa, for sending in this story. So this story actually happened earlier this year, and Marissa said it all took place at her aunt's house in Mexico. During winter break, Marissa went down to visit her cousins, and like always, they wanted to make every trip they spent together memorable. She said her and her cousins rarely see each other, and because it was just her traveling down to Mexico, she didn't have to worry about her parents being down her back and nagging about every little thing. Marissa said when she arrived at her aunt's house, she was brought upstairs to the guest room where she set up her bed and got comfortable. After settling in, she went down to her cousin Sophia's room, where they discussed what activities and things they'll be doing for her winter break. One of the activities being to play with the Ouija board. Marissa said when she heard her cousin Sophia utter those words out of her mouth, she thought that she was joking, but no, she was for real. Sophia even told Marissa to not tell her own parents and not to tell Sophia's parents that they were playing this game. The only good thing about this was that Marissa said they saved this game for last. Fast forward, it's 2 days before Marissa's winter break ends, and both the girls already got through all the activities, which means the last thing on the list to do was play the Ouija board. Marissa said as soon as nighttime hit, her stomach dropped to the floor because she knew her cousin Sophia would finally want to play. Marissa said at around 12:30 a.m. while everyone was asleep, Sophia snuck into Marissa's room where she was asleep with the game. Sophia woke Marissa up, and in the moment, Marissa said she wanted to snitch on Sophia, but she knew Sophia would never forgive her. Marissa said Sophia ended up telling her that the only reason why she wanted to play this game was to see if she could contact her brother that recently passed away. This made Marissa feel horrible, and seeing Sophia cry made her agree to play the game. Both girls proceeded to sit on the bed, open up the game, read the rules, and began playing. Marissa said while they were playing, she thought it was all fake until she felt a really cold chill go down her spine when both girls were asking the spirit questions. Marissa even said at one point it felt as if someone was behind her, hovering over her shoulder. While they were playing, the spirit ended up revealing that it was Sophia's brother, and after confirming with very hard questions, Marissa said Sophia began to sob. Sophia's sobbing caused her to let go the pointer on the board, which users aren't supposed to do. Because her cousin began to cry uncontrollably, Marissa had no choice but to let go of the board and comfort her. Marissa said while she held Sophia in her arms, the light began to flicker on and off. This freaked Marissa out, but Sophia thought it was all a sign from her brother. Sophia began to ask the spirit to give them more signs if her brother was in the room. After a few seconds, both girls heard a slight knock from the window, which caused Sophia to cry even more, but Marissa felt very, very uneasy. Time passed and the girls decided to finally go to sleep and put away the game. Marissa said putting away the game was the biggest mistake both girls ever made, and that being because they did not follow the rules properly and didn't say goodbye to the spirit that they were in contact with. Now this is where it gets really, really weird. Marissa said while she was sleeping at around 4 a.m. she was awoken by a harsh scream coming from a few rooms down, which happened to be her cousin's room. Marissa said the whole entire house woke up and rushed over to Sophia's room, where she was in there hysterically crying. Sophia ended up telling everyone that it was just a nightmare and not to worry. Marissa knew that definitely wasn't it and it had to be something else, but because they made the promise to not tell their parents, she had to make up that lie. The morning of, Sophia explained to Marissa everything that happened yesterday night, and she ended up bursting into tears, explaining how the whole time that they were playing the game, thinking that it was her brother in the room with them, it wasn't him. It was a whole entire different entity. Marissa said whatever crossed over that night showed up in Sophia's room and stood beside her bed, staring down at her with hungry eyes. This made Marissa feel uneasy, but she knew that after today, she would not be there. She'd be back at home, safe and sound. Fast forward that night, both girls decided to sleep in the same exact room, and that being Marissa's guest room. Both girls wanted to make sure that this all just wasn't in their heads, and if something actually did happen, at least there would be witnesses. Marissa said at around 4 a.m. again, she was awoken by the sound of something knocking on the closet door. She quickly shook Sophia to wake up, and both girls sat up listening to the sound of whatever was happening behind that door. Marissa said both of them were petrified and held onto each other for safety. She said after a while, the knocking stopped, but then that's when they heard the doorknob of the closet door starting to turn. The door proceeded to slowly creak open, and before the two girls even allowed whatever it was behind that door to come out, they both screamed out of fear. This woke the whole house up once again, and Marissa said her aunt burst through the door. Marissa said unfortunately she did end up snitching and told her aunt everything that they did and what they were doing. Let's just say both of them got... Marissa said that morning was her flight back home, and before she left for the airport, her aunt was blessing the house and even called over multiple priests to the home. Marissa also said when she arrived home, she called her cousin, and that's when she revealed that they were supposed to say goodbye at the end. They were also supposed to dispose of the game, which they never did. They just put it away and went to sleep. When I asked Marissa if she ever encountered the spirit after coming back home, she told me that she hasn't, but she revealed her cousin has been tormented by the spirit every single night at 4 a.m. ever since.
Tonight's true scary story is one of the most disturbing stories that I have ever gotten, and this is exactly why you do not play with Ouija boards, like tenfold. If this doesn't convince you, I honestly don't know what will. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to subscribe to my The link is in my link tree in my bio, where I tell scarier stories and longer versions of stories. And tonight I already told a story that you guys have not yet heard on here. Also guys, send me your true scary stories. My email is in my bio. So tonight's submitter's name is Dolly, and Dolly grew up in El Monte, California, and I hope that I'm pronouncing that right. Back when Dolly was 12 years old, her little sister brought home a makeshift Ouija board. It was homemade. Dolly is now 38 years old. Now while they're playing this game, they're asking it basic questions like, what's your name? How long have you been here? It responded to her and all of her siblings except for her sister Karina. For some reason, this entity did not like her sister Karina. Now she doesn't remember the name that the entity gave them, but it did like their brother, and it actually told their brother that it wanted him to meet them at a corner of a street in Los Angeles, a specific corner, and they wanted him to meet them at a specific date. Yes, the entity wanted to meet up with the brother. Now she doesn't remember the name of the streets or the specific date, but she does know that the date was not too far from that day. Entity said that it would be disguised as a woman with red hair, red lipstick, and a red dress. It also told them that if he didn't show up, it was going to unalive him at the age of 33 years old. Now the brother didn't end up going. Now they kept asking the board questions after this, when all of a sudden their other brother walks into the room and says, if you guys keep playing this game, I'm going to tell dad what you're doing. As soon as he closed the door and walked away, the board started moving on its own, and it spelled out fix him, as in like so their dad came in after that and told them that they needed to burn the board, so they did burn the board. And after that, she said that some nights she would fall asleep and she would wake up and she would feel like she was being watched. Just this awful feeling. And then she looks around the room and she sees her two sisters and her brother Joe. She shared a room with them. Now she's looking around the room and she's scanning it because she's really feeling this overwhelming feeling of being watched, when all of a sudden she sees this dark shadow man in the corner of her room. She is absolutely terrified. She is just sitting there when all of a sudden she feels her bed just go down, as if something was sitting down on the bed by her feet. This scares the ever-loving out of her. So she wakes up her sister Wendy and she's like, Wendy, someone is in the room. So Wendy gets up and goes to turn on the light, but the light won't turn on. So she starts freaking out and she wakes up her brother Joe. And her brother Joe gets up and he checks the room, and there is nobody in that room except for them. So Dolly tells her brother what happened and about how she saw the shadow man and how like the light wouldn't turn on. So he goes over and he checks the light, and the light bulb was unscrewed a little bit. So he screws it back on and the light turns back on. But at this point they are scared. So they wake up their parents and they tell their parents what they saw. So they go into the kitchen and they see muddy footprints in the kitchen and the window open. Apparently after that, they were always finding footprints in their backyard, and this was an incredibly scary time for them. Now fast forward a couple years later, and her brother moved to Tijuana, her brother Joe, when they get a phone call when he is 33 years old that he had been unalived at 33 years old. Now this is obviously so devastating, and she said that she has never touched a Ouija board ever again since she was 12 years old. She also said that she has had many other scary things happen to her, and that if we would like to know, to drop it in the comments and she will tell us more scary stories.